Hi, I'm V from Story Brews Roleplaying, and today I'll be explaining how to play Villagesong, a game of leadership and change set on a fantastical island within an equatorial archipelago. This game plays between 2 to 4 players, but it also has a solo version for a single player experience. The game takes between 2 to 4 hours to play, but you don't need to prepare anything beforehand. Like with all little box RPGs, just open the box and get started. In this game, you will play a village leader, responsible for the well-being and future of your home. As currents of change surge over your island, you'll make tough decisions that transform your village. Choice by choice, you will shape the song of your village sung for many years to come. Sound interesting? Let's get started. In the box you'll find 6 leader cards, 6 village cards, and 5 bond cards to connect the villages together. You'll also find 42 change cards. These are broken into 10 unique currents of change. Thematic groupings such as clearing the forest, daily trials, or the Great Kingdom. There are 2 particular kinds of change cards to note. Starting cards, denoted up here, and special change cards, which are coloured blue. There's also a turn token and 4 reference cards included in the game. Right, we're almost ready to start, but first you'll need to set up your change deck. This deck represents the forces of change surging over your island, and each turn of the game, a card will be drawn from the deck. When the deck runs out, the game ends. To set up the change deck, start by choosing 3 currents of change to include. If this is your first time playing, use the volcano, vision and artistry, and between villages. Gather all the cards from your chosen currents, and then set aside any starting cards. I'm setting up for a 3-player game, but if you're playing with 2 or 4 players, you'll need to make some modifications to the number of cards you'll be using. You'll find these instructions on page 8 of the rulebook. Next, shuffle the change cards from your chosen currents and place them face down. Place any starting cards on top of the deck with the lowest number on top. Then find the feast card and place it at the bottom of the deck. Your change deck is ready. Place it in the middle of your play area. Now it's time to choose your leaders and your villages and create the bonds between them. Lay out the 6 leader and 6 village cards so that everyone can see them. Each player chooses 1 leader and 1 village and places it in front of them. On your leader card, you'll see your name, description, and some leader questions for you to answer. On your village card, you'll see your village's name, description, 2 influential groups, and its unique poem. You'll tuck cards underneath your village during play, adding stanzas to your village song. Once everyone has had time to think about their leaders and villages, it's time to introduce them to each other. Answer the questions on your leader card out loud. Choose pronouns for your leaders, and let everyone know what they are. The last step in creating your island is to establish bonds. Bonds serve 2 purposes. They are both the relationship between your leaders as well as a physical connection between your villages. During the game, you will tuck cards underneath your bonds to track the growing tension in your relationships. When the first card is tucked, the relationship is strained. When the second card is tucked under a bond, it is broken. When a bond is broken, it flips and the passage between villages becomes impassable. But don't worry, it is possible for broken bonds to be restored. We'll talk more on this later. For now, let's finish creating our island by establishing our bonds. We'll move clockwise around the table, starting with the leader who has led their village longest. You'll do 4 steps to establish each bond. First, turn to the player on your left and choose a bond together, deciding on some details about your relationship. Second, place the bond card between your villages with the green solid side face up. Third, use the card's prompt to set a flashback scene that explores your relationship. This should be a short scene, set any time in your past. Lastly, after your flashback scene, decide together if your bond is solid or strained as the game begins. If it is strained, place a change card from the box under the bond. You'll continue establishing bonds around the table clockwise like this. After this step, your play area should look like this for a 3-player game, or this for a 2-player game, or this for a 4-player game. Now, you're ready to start leading your village. During the game, players will take turns clockwise around the table. Choose a starting player and give them the turn token. On a player's turn, players can choose to either draw and resolve a change card or set a leader scene. In the first round of turns, all players must choose to draw and resolve a change card. So let's see how that works first. Say I'm taking the first turn. I draw the next card from the change deck. In this case, it's the Volcano starting card. With starting cards, we first read the text on the back aloud before flipping it over and resolving it. Change cards are divided into 3 parts. The decision, which is the choice facing your leader, the village moment, which explores how the decision affects your village, and the poem, which will add to your village song, immortalizing the change. When resolving a change card, the first thing you'll need to do is read the decision out loud, including any italics text. Next, you'll need to decide if your leader chooses the first option to accept the change, or chooses the second option to pass on the change to another village. Either way, you'll answer why your leader decided so. Let's slow down, step through that process with my card. First, we'll read the decision aloud. Mountain awakes. It lasts only a minute, vicious tremors that shake the earth as clouds of smoke eat the blue sky. Soon, all returns to quiet, but dread fills the air. The volcano spirits have woken. Do they bear you ill? Do you hold your ground despite the rumbling, or do you evacuate everyone to another village and ask for shelter? Why? So what I'll first need to decide is whether my leader would accept the change to hold their ground despite the rumbling, or pass on the change and evacuate everyone to another village. Either way, I'll have to answer why. So I'll give the reasons for my leader's decisions from their perspective. So let's say that I am going to accept this change and hold my ground. Then I would move on to the village moment section and read that section aloud. Wondrous ashfall. Clouds of black dust roll down from the mountain. Grit and smoke hug the fields closest to the peak as deer and monkeys take shelter. In the huts, doors are sealed, all watch in amazement. What is destroyed by the ashfall? What signals the volcano's return to calm? I would answer those 2 questions, and then each other player would ask an additional question, whatever they're curious about or want to know more about in the scene. If anyone gets stuck, they can choose a question on their reference card. Note that in a 4-player game, it is only the player diagonally opposite that asks this additional question. Once all the questions have been asked and answered, I would take this card and tuck it underneath my village card with the poem showing. But what if I had chosen, instead of accepting the card, to pass on the change card and evacuate everyone to another village? Well, in that case, the very first thing I'd need to do is to decide which village to pass the change onto. I must choose a village connected to mine by an unbroken bond. In this case, I can choose either of these villages, but I'll choose Adagan because it's closer to the water. I'll hand this card to the player of this village.
So someone wants to take shelter in my village, hey? Wants to dump this volcano problem on me. Let's see, I have 2 choices here. I can either accept the change or resist the change. If I accept the change, then I'll continue on to the village moment, answering the questions and then tuck this card under my village. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to resist the change. First, I need to describe how my leader resists the change. In this case, I'll post guards on the bridge to turn people away.
Then I tuck the change card face down under the bond card between the villagers and describe how the relationship between our leaders is affected. Obviously, they don't take too kindly to my heavy-handed patrols.
So it looks like that's 2 cards under the bond, which means that it breaks. The player who flipped the bond, Haley, explains how the passage between our villages becomes impassable.
I think the sea cliffs crumble under the weight of constant patrols, and that's why they're no longer traversable.
And that ends my first turn of the game. I'll pass on the turn token, and it would be on to Haley to take the next turn of the game. But there was one other way of dealing with change cards that I haven't yet mentioned. Once per game, your leader may resist the change at great personal cost. This could either be when you've drawn the card yourself, or even if you were passed the change card by another player. Describe the actions that your leader takes to prevent the change, as well as the great personal costs they pay. Then tuck the change card face down under your leader card to show you've taken this once per game action. If you ever get stuck, there is a handy diagram of the whole card resolution process on your reference card. After the first round of turns is over, players can choose to set a leader scene with another leader instead of drawing and resolving change cards. Setting a leader scene is done in 3 steps. First, set and play out the scene. Start by choosing one of the 3 objectives for your scene. Choose a leader to share your scene with. You can set a scene with any leader, even if you are not connected by a bond, or even if you are connected by a broken bond. Describe where the scene takes place and what is happening as it begins. Then jump into character and play out the objective you decided on. Secondly, review your relationship. At the end of the scene, decide together whether your bond is unchanged, strained, broken, or if it was already broken, restored. Lastly, draw a change card into your hand. In future turns, you can choose to resolve this card or any other card in your hand instead of a card you've just drawn. Your hand gives you a bit of flexibility in the future as to what kinds of changes you'll encounter. If you'd like to see a full example of how a leader scene plays out, you can watch our demo game. You'll continue taking turns, resolving change cards, and setting leader scenes until you reach the feast card at the bottom of the deck. You'll make tough decisions, bonds will break and be restored, and through all this, your village songs will continue to grow. The last card in the game is the feast card. This is an opportunity for you to reflect on all that has happened during your time as leader. All you need to do is to follow the instructions printed on the card. Take your time with the feast. Eat, drink, think, and talk about what it has meant to be a leader. When the feast is over, we move on to the last act in the game, reading your village songs, the song that history remembers of each village. You'll start by tucking your leader card under your village to form the last line of your poem. Each player then reads their village song, beginning with a village poem and ending with their leader quote. When all village songs have been sung, the game is over. As important as it is to look after your village, it's even more important to look out for the well-being of those around you. Don't forget to look out for yourself and each other as you play. Pause the game and check in if you or another player at the table seem uncomfortable. You can find useful tools to help with this on page 33 of the rulebook. On page 37, you'll find a link to the solo game rules, if you'd like to experience the standalone solo version. While many of the rules are similar, the solo version introduces the lontar, a unique journal of your village's history as seen from the eyes of its leader. And that's everything you need to get started with Villagesong. I've had a blast making this game, and I hope you enjoy making your very own village songs.